So here's kind of how the market works, right? This is your typical market cycle, right? And you have the peaks right here and right here, and you have the valleys right here and right here. And so typically what ends up happening is that vast majority of people, when they invest, they will buy somewhere right around there, okay? All right, so this is where they'll buy, or even worse, they'll buy right here. Well, guess what happens when you buy right here? There's one direction that this puppy is going, and that's down, right? Hey y'all, this is Nev with One Deal Away, and welcome back to another episode where we're talking about money, because money does matter. So we've talked a little bit about different things of kind of how money comes in and what we need to do and how much do we put in. So I want to talk about, right, we had the three little buckets, right? I don't know why I deleted the emergency bucket. And we said we want to do the 6 to 18 months. But question always comes in of, okay, I figured out the whole 30% of all of my money goes into the saving, and then from there, boom, I divide it. How do you divide it is really up to you, however you want to do it. Part of the money, obviously, needs to go and hit all of these three accounts. So what I have done is typically you can do like 10, 10, and 10. If once you kind of come into this being 6 to 18 months and being covered, then obviously you stop contributing to this guy and you're only contributing to the capital and education. Sometimes what I have done is, depending, like when I just first started doing some of this stuff, I was obviously putting some money towards the emergency fund. And that's cool. I was putting a little bit of money towards capital, but I was putting way more money towards education, because I had figured out that I needed to get a better education if I was going to make better investment choices. And so while a lot of you may be saying like, all right, I'm going to put 10% here and 15% here and 5% here, that's cool if you already know what you're going to do and how you're going to invest it. For me, because I got burned once really badly, I got burned multiple times, but I really badly in 2007, 2008, where I lost everything I had, got myself deeply in debt because I thought I knew what I was doing here, and I had no clue what I was doing there. I was gambling with my money. I was buying at the top of the peak. I sold when it crashed. I'd done everything wrong. Everything they tell you don't do, I did. When everybody was jumping in it, I jumped in with them. When everybody was jumping out, I jumped out with them. And that's not the way to invest. Intelligent investors will tell you that the best way to invest is you got to go against the crowd. So here's kind of how the market works, right? This is your typical market cycle, right? And you have the peaks right here and right here, and you have the valleys right here and right here. And so typically what ends up happening is that vast majority of people, when they invest, they will buy somewhere right around there, okay? All right, so this is where they'll buy, or even worse, they'll buy right here. Well, guess what happens when you buy right here? There's one direction that this puppy is going, and that's down, right? This, let me see if I can get a different color so that you can see it. This and this, right? This range is where intelligent money buys, because the only way to go is up. Exactly. So, but intellectually, this is easy to understand. Emotionally, this becomes very different, because here's what ends up happening. Because market was here at some point, right? Like it was up. and then it kind of goes down, and it's sort of I mean, it's hard, not hard, it's impossible to bottom out the market. It's absolutely impossible to know exactly how far down this is going to go. And so that's the part that is a bit challenging. So you kind of have to start learning of what are some of the parameters, what are the things that I need to look for to sort of see this kind of lull down, and then start investing, as they say, on the ground floor as it goes up. And then at some point you stop, and then you allow the crowd to kind of come in, guide this puppy over to the top. You exit there, right? So this is where smart money exits. Smart money exits, actually it doesn't go all the way there. Smart money exits right around here. This is where they exit. This is where they enter. Enter. Clearly, forgot how to spell today. Exit. I want to put it out because it's really important that you know. So, smart money exits when the rest of the folks who don't know what they're doing are entering the market, because that's how they're making a lot of money. And they come in where the dumb money, as they call it, is selling. So that's kind of how to think about sort of where things work and how things work. And so because I didn't know all of this stuff, I wanted to be able to learn these things. And so here, when it came to my budgeting, I was putting about, I think I was putting about 5% here. I was putting 5% here, and I was putting 20% here in order to be able to learn. As my education started to grow, I started to divert some of the money from education into the capital and into the emergency. So then it started to switch to like 10, 15, and 5. And then it was like 5, 15, and 10. And then as you kind of come to this, then you can do like 20 and 10, 25 and 5. So it's really where you are, where you feel you are when it comes to the realm of money, business, investing, finance, like where you are right now with it. Okay. The other part is people are saying, well, 30% is really, really cool, Nav, but that can be a bit more challenging because I have debt and I have all these different things. And I'm going to go in and do, in next episode, I'm actually going to talk about student loan debt and how it all works and sort of where the problems that I see are and what you can do about it, because just pure knowledge for the sake of pure knowledge, it's cool but useless. So I want to make sure that all of the stuff that we're talking here is actually incredibly useful to you, because I want you to do well financially. I want you to be able to scale up your money. I want you to get out of the destructive debt and to get into some of the constructive debt and start having some of these buckets sort of put in so that you can start living your life the way that you want to live. Fair? So if you don't have 30%, it's okay to start with something else. What I have done is I have looked at sort of what are my expenditures. And sometimes it's hard to do this, but you have to be honest with yourself. Where does your money go? Most folks, when I talk to them, and I know this because I was there at one point too, have no clue where their money goes when it leaves them. We just know money comes in, and then magically money just comes out, and then we're like broke and we need more money. So understanding where the money goes when it leaves you is going to be crucially important to your financial success. Fair? So where do you go? Where does the money go? Well, part of it might go to rent or mortgage, maybe car payments, student loan debts, credit card debts, going out with friends, subscription services, all these different things. If you find that you run out of money before you run out of the month, it's time to change things around and start cutting. Obviously work on increasing your income as well, but you're gonna have to start cutting some of the expenses as well. So maybe you don't go out to eat with friends. Maybe you guys just do like a potluck or a cookout at somebody's house or backyard. Maybe you don't go out to the movies. Maybe you just watch movies somewhere. Maybe you are not subscribed to Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, and all these different things that I don't even know about that you can subscribe on. Maybe you end up sharing services with somebody else. For example, say that, and I don't know, this is illegal, so I might get banned from all these public places where I'm doing the videos. But, like, think about it. Like, if I have a Netflix subscription that I can have like 4 different users, and you have a Hulu subscription that has 4 different users, well, why would I subscribe to both and you subscribe to both if you're really close friends or we're family? So I'll subscribe to Netflix, you subscribe to Hulu, and we'll share. We'll sort of trade, so to speak. That's one way to kind of think through some of these different things. Start considering ways that you can not just increase your money, but reduce your expenses. Because remember, I already talked about in one of the videos that while it is important and it does incredibly help to how much money you're making, it's much more important of how much money you get to keep for yourself, okay? No amount of money is going to help if you're spending more than you're making. And so start practicing wherever you are. Some people say, well, I'll get better with money when I start making more money. The problem that I have found and I have seen in myself and everybody else is that that's not really true. When I first started working, my first job paid $20,000 a year. That's right, $20,000 a year, and I thought I was like millionaire. I mean, baller. Anyways, now I think back and go, oh my gosh, like $20,000 is nothing, and it was nothing back then as well. But to me, I've never earned any more than that. And so to me, that was a huge amount of money for a few months. And then I needed more money because I started spending money like it was going out of style. The following year, my income grew from $20,000 to $28,000, which if you look at it percentage-wise, that's a huge percentage jump. But to me, like, that was amazing for a few months. Then I needed more. Following year or something like that, it went from 28 to 32,000, from 32 to 37, from 37 to 39, from 39 to 42. Like, it was going up consistently. The problem was that my expenses were keeping pace and were actually being larger than my income. If you find yourself to be in that sort of trajectory where you're like, oh my gosh, like, you're right, Nev. I remember when my first job was paying, like $9 an hour, and I worked 10 hours, like, that was cool. And now I'm making like $40 an hour, working 40 hours a week, and it's not enough. Then clearly some sort of something behavior-wise around money is happening. And so that's where the light bulb went off in my head to say, I need to call a timeout. I am spinning on this hamster wheel as fast as I humanly can, but I'm not going anywhere. I'm just getting exhausted chasing after higher income, where I should be trying to figure out how to make my income work while chasing the higher income. Does that make sense? So it's both. You want to increase your income and figure out how to keep your expenses to run at a slower pace. So I'm not saying you want to stay broke forever. What I am saying is figure out a way, like, how can I do this? Let's take a look. How can I, right? You have income, and income you want it to kind of grow up like this, right? And you're going to have expenses, which I hope you guys can see this, that, sometimes end up growing like this, but that's not what we want. We want income to do something like this. So we want this part over here to go up at a higher rate, much higher rate than this one. That is how wealth is built in your life. That is what makes all of the difference, is that you do want your expenses and income to grow, but you want your income to grow at a much faster pace than your expenses. And once you can figure out how to do that, that's where you can actually start taking a chunk of this stuff. Because if you were looking at this and going, when he said 90%, he is bonkers crazy. And yes, I am crazy, but methodology also works. 90%, you can't do it if you are making, $50,000 a year, because it's really hard unless you're like, I don't know, have a free place to live and free food and free car and free everything in life, then yeah, you can. But unless you are there, you're not going to be able to do it. So what you want to do is figure out, okay, can I live off of 30% off of that stuff? And then as my income grows, I increase the amount of money I am saving, I am putting into all of these different things, because this piece right here, this guy, hold on, this guy right here is going to go straight here, and that's what's going to make my income grow. And it's going to go also into here, where I'm going to buy businesses, invest in businesses, build businesses. And that's what's going to make this amount go up as well. And that's kind of what the game you want to play. So really, if you think about it, when you're just starting out, you're likely going to only have a job, right? And a set amount of money that is coming in. Okay. Now, the job that you get, you want to get the job so that you can build skills. What are those skills? I am a firm believer that everybody should start figuring out how to start earning money from investments and how to figure out how to earn money from businesses. And the reason for that is because these are the most lucrative ways to make money, and they're the best poised when it comes to keeping most of your money, preserving them from taxes. As you will see, the jobs are highest taxed ways to make money. Investments and business are the lowest. So for me, I'm saying, instead of learning how to get another higher paying job, get into the job to get skills that will allow you to start branching off and start figuring out how to build your own business, or acquire a business, or partner with a business, or invest in a business, right? And do some other investments, and then use the portion of that cash to start supplementing your income. Because it's kind of like creating two very powerful forces. I am on one hand, right, fueling the vehicle and building the vehicle as well. And once I have the superpower vehicle with the fuel, vehicle is basically those skills and abilities that I'm learning from the job, and fuel is the money and the investment stuff together. That's what's actually going to start creating this stuff over here, where your income starts going up, your expenses start kind of slowly creeping, but not at the same pace, okay? And at that point is when you're going to start being able to put way more money, because you're not going to need as much money. If you think of some of the wealthiest people in the world, like let's think of, let's go with Jeff Bezos, for example, right? I don't know him personally, so I don't know for sure, okay? So I could potentially be wrong, but I have a hard time believing that the man spends 100% of his income, okay? Because if he does, he wouldn't be able to be as successful as he is, okay? Steve Jobs, late Steve Jobs, we already knew that because it was reported, didn't take high salary. He took a small salary. He lived off of that small salary. It was all the investments and everything else on the backside of it that actually he was making money off of. So those are the folks, so the richest folks will actually keep 90 to 99% of all of the income. Now, I understand you're saying, well, it's easy for them, Nev. They're making, millions and hundreds of millions and billions and hundreds of billions. I get it. I really do get it. It's much easier to live off of 1% of 100 billion than it is to live off of, 70% of $10,000. I get it. I really, really do get it. But what I'm saying is start practicing now, because if you wait to get yourself rich to do that, you're never going to get yourself rich. Because if you're doing the whole thing that I have explained earlier, where your expenses are keeping pace or even sometimes outpacing your income earning, you're going to get to the point where your expenses are going to be so large, so big, that no amount of money and stuff, like unless you win some kind of crazy lottery, and you're going to feel trapped. Okay, you're going to get into this whole thing where you're going to start spending, you know, $5, 6, 7, $10,000 on a mortgage on a house that really does nothing for you, and you're going to spend another like $5,000 on like cards and credit card financing only, and you're going to spend all this crazy money, and you're going to find yourself and saying like, yes, I make great income, but I would like to slow down, and I would like to do something else, but I can't because I have all of these expenses that are dragging me down. I don't want you to do that. And if you are there where you're saying, watching this and saying, I think we've met, Nev, because you're speaking to my heart and my wallet. I have all of these expenses. I want you to start looking at ways to cut it and start selling. And you're going to say, no, I know it right now, because you're not the first person that I'm talking about this stuff with. For those of you that are not there yet, figure out how to never get there. For those of you that are there, that have all of these expenses built up, and you're every night you're lying in bed and trying to figure out how do I make this money thing work for me, you're going to have to start selling things and cutting things. And your story right now, you're going to look back and say, I can't do that. Yes, you can. Human beings can do just about anything they want to. It's just that you may not want to do it because you're afraid of what people are going to think or say about you. You're going to be afraid that when you look at, Junior and say, I'm sorry, we can't afford the soccer lessons or ballet lessons or private heli skiing every single winter, or, 2 months off in Hawaii every single summer, that they're going to judge you. And they might. You need to figure out the way of, do you want to get the judgment day today and figure out the money and figure out your happiness and your health today? Or do you want to go and keep digging the hole deeper and deeper and deeper, give yourself ulcers, give yourself a life that you're miserable in, that you hate everything about, and that's the choice that you get to choose. For me, I decided that I was going to stop digging when I realized that hole is too big to climb out of anyways. So first thing I did is put the shovel down and then start thinking, how the heck am I going to get out of here? And that is what I suggest that you do for yourself as well. If you stop digging, it's going to be much harder. The faster you dig, the deeper you go, the more challenging it comes out to come out of the whole thing. So for the younger viewers, for the viewers that, and when I say younger, it doesn't really even mean age. It means more as the, I haven't dug the hole deep enough. Start thinking differently about money and about all of these different things, because any amount of money that you can preserve and well positioned to help you keep growing wealth, your ability to get to becoming financially independent is that much faster. For those of you that are already deeply in debt, deeply struggling with this stuff, I really challenge you to stop, to consider different stuff of doing things. And if you are sick and tired of being sick and tired, as they say, then stop doing things and stop telling yourself a negative story that for some reason you bought into, that you can't sell the house, that you can't dispose of the cars, that you can't slow down on the expense trajectory, because you can. You can do anything you set your mind to. You just have to set your mind to and then do it. I hope this was helpful to you. Until next time, stay forever money blessed, and do remember, you are only one deal away.